This video will demonstrate how to manage logical storage within a NetApp storage system. There will be two topics covered in this video. The first topic covers flexible volumes, which consists of two parts. In the first part, I will use the NetApp System Manager tool to create a flexible volume, resize a flexible volume, and then delete a flexible volume. I will then switch to the command line interface in the second part, where I will demonstrate how to create a flexible volume and then how to delete a flexible volume. The second topic I will cover is qtrees, which also contains two parts. I will use the NetApp System Manager tool in the first part to create a qtree. In the second part, I will then switch to the command line interface tool to create a qtree and then delete a qtree. So what do you need to know? Firstly, what is a flexible volume? Basically, a volume is a logical unit of storage that takes space from an aggregate. A volume contains an independent file system image and other options, such as snapshots. A flexible volume just means that the size is not fixed. So what is a qtree? A qtree is essentially a structure you can place within a volume to control quotas on the file system contained within it. Now what will you need? You will need the NetApp storage system with a configured aggregate. You will need the NetApp System Manager tool that is connected to the storage, and a command line interface tool such as PuTTY that also has access to the storage. So let's get started. Topic 1. Managing flexible volumes. This part will demonstrate how to create a volume. To create a new volume under storage, we select volume and then we select create. Once the dialog box comes up, the first thing we need to do is enter the name of the volume. In this case, I will name the volume vol_demo. Make sure this is a meaningful name, otherwise managing your storage may become a nightmare if you can't identify the purpose of the volume. I will leave the aggregate as ag_1 as that's what is prepared for this video. The storage can either be NAS or a SAN. In this case, I will leave it as a NAS. The size of the volume depends on what you require. In this case, we can have up to 57 gigabytes, but that's because that's what the aggregate allows. I will leave this as 1 gigabyte with 5% reservation for the snapshots. I will select thin provisioned because we don't want the storage to actually allocate the space until it is actually required. The other options you have are under the storage efficiency tab. Deduplication allows for greater utilization of your storage space. This is covered in a separate video, so we won't select this option. Now that the configuration is complete, we can create the volume. The time it takes to create the volume will depend on how big the volume actually is. In this case, since it's quite small, it doesn't take much time to create. Now that the list is refreshed, we'll be able to actually see the volume we've just created. And there it is. Now I will demonstrate how to resize a volume. Now that we have a volume, I can show you how to resize it. Select the volume that you want to alter, and then we need to select resize. Now the resize wizard appears, so if we select next, we then need to actually state what we want the new size of the volume to be. In this case, we will increase it to 1.5 gigabytes, but we'll leave the snapshot reserve at 5%. And then we can select next. There is no existing snapshots to delete, so we can just select next. And the summary just states that we are resizing the volume from 1 to 1.5 gigabytes. So we can select next to actually make the resize happen. Depending on the size of the volume will depend on how long that will take, but as you can see, the size was relatively small, so it's happened very quickly. And that's the resizing completed. As you can see on the summary screen that the new size is 1.5 gigabytes. with the available size being 1.42 because of the reserve for the snapshots.
Okay, now let's have a look at how to delete a volume.
To delete a volume, the first thing we need to do is actually take the volume offline. So if you right click on the volume and then select the status option and then offline. Yes, we are sure we want to take this volume offline. Make sure you don't do this with any live data, as people won't be able to access anything stored within the volume. Now that the volume is offline, we can delete the volume. So with the volume selected, we then select delete. You need to select the checkbox saying, okay, we really do want to delete this volume, and then select delete. And with that, the volume is now deleted.
In the second part of topic 1, I will show you how to create and delete a volume using the CLI tool. In this case, I'll be using Putty. Creating a volume using the CLI tool is very simple, and it only actually takes one line. All we need to do is type vol, then create, the name that we want to call the volume. In this case we will use vol demo again, what aggregate the volume's going to sit within, which will be aggregate 1 that we used in the previous demo, and the size of the volume. In this case we will make the volume 100 megabytes and then enter. As you can see, the volume has now been completed. To delete a volume is as simple as creating a volume. The first thing we need to do is take the volume offline. So if we enter vol offline and then the name of the volume, which was vol_demo, and then select enter, we will then get feedback that the volume has then been taken offline. Now we can go ahead and delete the volume. You actually, instead of putting delete, you put destroy, and then the volume name, which was vol_demo, and then enter. Are we sure we want to destroy the volume? Yes. And there you go, the volume has now been destroyed or deleted. Now for the second topic of this video, managing qtrees. Let's start with how to create a qtree using the NetApp System Manager. To create a qtree, all we have to do is under storage, select qtrees, and then select create. We then need to give our qtree a name. In this case, we will call it qtree_demo. Then we need to select the volume that we want this qtree to sit within. In this case, we will use vol_demo again. I will select the security type as I want NTFS, and then we will select the quota. I want to limit the total user space within this qtree to be 100 megabits of the 1 gig volume size that we have. And then we go create. As you can see, there is our qtree. For the last part of this topic, I will demonstrate how to create and delete a qtree using the command line interface. Creating a qtree is very simple. All we need to do is state qtree, create, the fact the qtree is going to be stored within a volume, and then the volume name, which we will use vol_demo again, and then the name of the qtree. In this case, we will call it qtree_CLI. Enter, and there you go, the qtree has been created. To confirm that it has been created, if you type in qtree status, you will see all the qtrees that do exist. In this case, you can see that there is qtree demo, and you'll also see that it has a security type of Unix, because we did not state that it was an NTFS type. Deleting a qtree is also a simple process. The first thing we need to do is actually change the CLI to be a privileged state. To do that, all we have to do is enter priv, set, and advanced. And as you can see, it gives you a warning because there's just so much more you can do now that you're in this mode. So to delete the qtree, all we need to do is state qtree and then delete where the volume actually exists. So vol underscore demo and the name of the qtree, which is qtree underscore CLI, and then enter. And there you go, the qtree has been successfully deleted. To confirm that, if we type in qtree status, and there you go, that qtree no longer exists. Now, once you've completed deleting qtrees, make sure that you do enter priv set just to reduce your privileges so you can't delete anything accidentally.